Hello everyone, welcome to the video and back to the channel. My name is Steven and I am a second year dental student, and I am back with part 3 of checking out the dental school Reddit just to see what people are talking about, kind of give you some of my responses as a dental student and see what people are saying. I love doing these videos. They're a great way for me to kind of get a grasp and a grip on what people are doing and speaking about out there when it comes to dental school. I'm now a late first semester, second year dental student. So every time I make one of these videos, my credibility gets, I guess, ever so slightly higher, and I become ever so slightly more reliable when it comes to information. But I just enjoy making these videos. It's fun to see kind of what people are saying and react to it. And I think it's also a great opportunity for you to maybe learn a few things if you're a pre-dental student, or even if you're a younger dental student and you're kind of trying to get an idea of what things are like as you move forward. I'm very warm and I need to do something about that. Okay, so this first question here in the dental school Reddit page is actually something that's very near and dear to my heart. And it's a question about working out. Person is just simply saying, do you work out? If so, when, where, how do you do it? And then also getting in a little bit with the question about meal prepping and essentially what types of food are you eating and how are you doing this? Once again, this is super important to me. If you check out my channel page and you go up to the very top, you'll see 3 words written there along with my smiling face. You will see dentistry, creativity, and wellness. Wellness is something that's super important to me. I've talked about it on this channel in the past. So needless to say, I do like working out. It's something that's very important. It's something that keeps me sane, I think, in a lot of ways. And I think that physical fitness and physical health are really deeply connected with mental health. And so the two of them just play in together really closely. As a dental student, it's tough. At times, we really have to sacrifice essentially everything else just to get through the everyday challenges of dental school. But there are times, many times, when we have a little bit of time and our instinct would be to kind of talk ourselves into, I deserve a break, right? Like I deserve to sit down and play some video games for a while or do this or that. And while that is very true, don't get me wrong, why not go and do something that's a little bit more active for an hour? So the question is like, when do you work out or when should you work out? Honestly, the best answer to this question is whatever works for you. Whatever works for you that's going to remain sustainable for you. Don't try working out 5 days a week and then doing it for 2 weeks and getting burnt out because it's just too much. Start once a week if you never work out, and then you can build on that. I'm to the point now in my life where I essentially am doing something active at least 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. But some days are real simple. Some days I'll just go downstairs and run 2 miles and keep it real simple. I don't have to be in there for an hour. But generally speaking, what I try to do is I try to get an hour of activity, whether it's lifting weights or running or something else, every single day. Once again, there are days when this is going to get sacrificed for schoolwork. That's completely okay. You have to have a healthy relationship with it. And the meal prepping question is also something that I'm really passionate about because I do meal prep. I think it's the best way to eat healthy, save time, and save money. And I've been meaning to make a video about meal prepping for a long time. I need to have someone help me film it. So maybe that will be coming out soon. But definitely meal prepping is an amazing option for you if you are a busy dental student. Okay, so what do we have next? Okay, look at this. This is pretty wild here. I work in a lab. This is a printed working model for a bone cancer patient. We printed the model for the test fitting of prosthetics after the affected bone is cut away. Look at that. So I'm telling you, like, I think there's a lot of reasons why you should get into dentistry if you're interested in it. But one of those reasons is that we, in this very point in time, in like 2021, we're really on the precipice of a lot of amazing technology that is about to kind of blow the doors wide open in dentistry. There's a lot of modern technology that has been used in other industries for years that's making its way now and trickling its way now into dentistry. And we're just starting to see that, the impact of that in our education. There are new courses popping up year to year for us dental students, learning things like 3D printing. And we had a discussion a few days ago with a prosthodontist who told us, if you have an extra $200-300, invest that $200-300 into a 3D printer and start learning how to use it and learning how to just build basic things with it, because there's so many applications for that in dentistry, and those are going to become really commonplace moving forward into the future. So maybe that's an idea for you for something you can talk about even in your dental school interview. You're interested in getting into some of the new tech that's becoming commonplace in dentistry. I certainly am, and I think that something like this, especially for a cancer patient, for someone who looks like they're missing a lot of the maxilla there, something like that is just pretty remarkable. And once again, we're on the precipice of a lot of really cool stuff. Okay, so dentistry from Egypt to the US. This person is essentially asking about moving from Egypt, their home, I'm assuming, to the US to become a dentist. And I just wanted to mention this one and react to this one because this question, or something very similar to this, is something I get all the time on my Instagram. There are people who frequently ask me, how do I go from India to the US to practice dentistry, or name the country, and there's that question out there. And I unfortunately always have to answer this question in the same way to these inquirers. And that answer for me personally is, I don't really know. I am a US citizen, was born and raised here in the state of Tennessee, and I'm currently training in my dental program in the state of Tennessee. So I am not at all qualified to talk about the transition from another country to the United States. I know that this is probably a very, very daunting process. I mean, even going through the pre-dental process as a United States citizen and trying to go and get into a school 3 hours down the road was tough. So I can't imagine how tough this process is, but I do know that there are a lot of international dental students that are out there that are on Instagram and who have open DMs that are ready to answer some questions about this process and ready to help you out. But hang in there and remember, it's entirely possible. Keep your dreams as big as you can possibly keep them. Make sure you manage your expectations, but take those little steps, one step at a time, to get to that point you want to be. And if that's dental school in the United States, I promise there's a road for you to do it, and you're going to have a wonderful story at the end of all of it. Okay, such a super common question that is asked by everyone, and that is the question about getting into dental school with a low GPA. This person is essentially inquiring, is it even possible to do this? They say that they have a 2.9 science GPA and a 2.8 overall. And so my thing with GPA is that essentially you can kind of balance your GPA with your DAT score. If you go out and you perform stellar on your DAT, you get like a 25, 26, 27, somewhere up there crazy, which is entirely possible using programs like DAT Bootcamp nowadays. You can get into dental school. Now, with a GPA that's lower than a 3.0, I would say that the chances of that are a little bit lower. And once again, as I've stated in the past, I can't say these things for certain because I don't work on a dental school admissions committee. But what I would recommend for a person like this is, number one, definitely prioritize your DAT. If you can do really well on your DAT, that's going to help you immensely in this process. But two, what I would recommend doing is actually participating in a postgraduate program in science and taking some more like postgrad classes in biology, for example, and then once again, devoting a lot of time and trying to do well in those, because those will give you the opportunity to sit down in a dental school interview and say, look how I've improved. These are the classes that I took and just in this past year, and I did really well compared to 3-4 years ago when I took Bio 101 and I didn't have things figured out. So if you can take some post-grad classes and maybe get a graduate degree in biology or something like that, you definitely will improve your chances, especially if you perform really well in your DAT. I think, once again, that's a really, really important aspect for you and for anyone who's having this low GPA issue. But once again, it's entirely possible. Many, many people before you have gotten in with a GPA like this. It's just a difficult road, and I think you're going to have to take some extra steps. It's not going to be as simple as I'm getting in this year or next year. You might have to wait a little bit longer, but if dentistry is what you want, keep going for it and you'll make it happen. So standard practice to receive handwritten letters from interviewers afterwards. This is interesting. I think you actually might be in a good position here. I wouldn't say that this is like, oh, I'm gonna get in now. And I know what this is like to be in the process and to be waiting to hear about your admission status. I mean, you're so wrapped up in it. You're so worried about it. You're so like, it's all you can think about. It consumes you. So I imagine that just getting a handwritten note from an interviewer is making you go crazy. You're like, oh my gosh, does this mean I'm gonna get in? I wouldn't jump to that conclusion necessarily. Obviously, I don't know anything else about your application process and your application itself, but this is something that I didn't personally experience, and I don't know if anybody in my school experienced. I haven't talked to people who interviewed at Louisville, so I'm not sure. It's not a bad sign. And I certainly, to just be a little bit proactive here, I would definitely respond to that letter, if you haven't already, with your own version of a handwritten letter, thanking them for their time, thanking them for the opportunity, and also just basically making the claim that you are excited for the possibility to someday become their colleague. That's something that I think most dentists and most teachers really appreciate. And if they have any sort of say in what happens to you in the application process, which they most likely do, that might be just a little bit of something that they have on their mind that is a positive about you. So I wouldn't say you're going to get in for sure, This is just based off of this, but that's pretty cool. Can anyone explain isthmus in simple terms? So this is a kind of like generally not day one, but this is like a basic operative concept here. And the isthmus is essentially the portion of a cavity preparation that is found in the middle. Okay, let me get a little bit more specific. So we have a groove pattern on every single tooth. That groove pattern runs buccolingually, so from side to side, I guess, and then mesiodistally, which would be kind of front to back. And of course, as we learn in anatomy, there's all these different groove patterns. Each tooth is slightly different. So the portion of the preparation that connects, let's say, the dead center of this entire groove pattern, the dead center buccolingually and the dead center mesiodistally, the portion between that point and your marginal ridge, let's say like your mesial marginal ridge of the prep, that narrowest portion, that's going to be the isthmus of your prep. And when it comes to operative, we typically like to have a pretty precise number here. The way I always prep these is just to understand what the number is. I think it's maybe 1.5 millimeters or something like that. And then I just use a burr that is that wide or just slightly a little bit more narrow. And then I'll open it up a little bit from that point. So that's what the isthmus means. And I'll hopefully include an image here to show that and make that a little bit more clear to you. What are some of the best ways to memorize head and neck anatomy in a way that's both understandable and long-term? Head and neck anatomy is essentially just like all of the other portion of gross anatomy. It's very difficult. Head and neck is a little bit more difficult because there's a lot more packed into this area than there is like in the arm. Actually, the arm's kind of a bad example, like the back or something like that. Yeah, there's a lot to know, but the way that I went about gross anatomy in general, I think I've talked about this in a video, I'll link that right here. Essentially, I use Anki, and Anki is amazing when it comes to gross anatomy because Anki, or within Anki, you can use the image occlusion add-on to really kind of hone in on images, cadaveric images or diagrams that were created by various different people, artists and things. So being able to take these images and go in and actually occlude the names and just repetition through that, that's really going to be important. Also, anytime you have some sort of cluster of nerves or something like that, coming up with mnemonics is really, really important. So if you have nerves up here, for example, that are coming off of some of the higher cervical vertebrae and coming down into like before your brachial plexus region, some of that stuff and some of the muscles and the relationships between the muscles and those nerves, come up with mnemonics. Those are really, really helpful. And also, if you can draw things out, if you can sit there and actually in your practice, in your studying, draw out the relationship between a muscle, a nerve, a vein, artery, whatever, that, at least for me, was really, really important. It helps you, obviously, with your artistic abilities, but also it just helps you kind of solidify the way things look in your brain, which at least for me was really, really important in gross anatomy. My greatest fear. So this person is essentially talking about being scared of the future, being scared of committing entirely to dentistry and this crazy profession that now requires so much debt. I'm going to answer this twofold. One, I think that fear is a really, really important tool if used correctly. You can take fear and turn it into the most powerful sense of motivation that you'll ever experience in your life because you're doing things out of desperation. You're doing things to survive. It's almost like your fight or flight system is kicking in and you're just desperately scratching away and trying to improve and trying to get to this goal. So I think fear is actually a good thing. And I think it's something that you should embrace. But I'm not necessarily going to sit here and tell you that you 100% need to become a dentist, because I'm never going to say that to anybody. I don't think everyone out there should be a dentist. I don't think everyone out there needs to take on the financial burden to become a dentist. So I think that this is a little bit of a difficult situation. I understand your fear. I understand where you're coming from. It's absolutely okay to feel this way, and you shouldn't feel bad about feeling this way. But also, just from face value of your post here, it looks like you really might have a great shot at this based on your GPA. And also, I mean, of course, thinking about the DAT, that's going to be really important for you. But your passion for this issue is going to be important for you to focus on moving forward. You need to focus on it internally, make sure that you're understanding that passion and make sure you're using it properly. But also you can convey that passion for your future and for wanting to succeed and to do well for yourself in life. You can convey that moving forward into your personal statement and into your interviews as well. This is something that dental schools will love to see. Now, when it comes to picking a dental school, if you do decide that dentistry is for you and you decide to take that leap of faith, when it comes to picking a dental school, I would tell you the absolute most important thing is the same thing Dr. Jim Dolly would say, and that is choose the school that is cheapest. It sounds pretty crude, it sounds rudimentary, but in the long run, your education from school A versus school B on paper, they're extremely different, right? Like, oh, this one's prestigious, this one's amazing. They're really the exact same thing. The only thing is school A costs $100,000 more a year than school B, and that's an inflated number. Pick school B, pick the cheaper option. You're gonna get an amazing dental education no matter where you go. Even if you wanna specialize, you're gonna do it no matter which university you wanna go to. All of your education, when it comes to the things that matter, are happening after you graduate. Don't choose a dental school because of the name. Choose a dental school because of the price, honestly. The price and maybe some things like distance from home. I wish you the best of luck. I understand how scary this part of your life is, but if you feel like dentistry is for you, take a leap of faith and commit to it. And I don't think that if you do it wholeheartedly, I don't think you'll ever look back. Boom, friends, that is it for this video. I've talked a lot more than I wanted to talk, but these were some great questions, great posts that people were putting on here, and a lot of interesting stuff. I absolutely love doing these videos, and so if you want to see more of these in the future, I can have an entire series of reacting to Reddit posts, because I think there's a lot to learn from this, and it's something that I really enjoy doing. It's one of the parts of my channel that I really like. I have a bunch of other dental school content out there on the channel as we sit right now, and there's going to be a ton of it coming in the future. So if you're interested in hopping on to this train and becoming part of the little community that we have going here, it's fun and I'm excited about where it's going. So make sure that you subscribe. Also like this video if you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments. And yeah, that was a lot of rambling for my outro there. Honestly, I appreciate all of you. I'm super excited to keep the YouTube channel rolling, keep making content, keep moving forward, and I'm just excited to see where everything takes me. So with that being said, as I always say at the end of my videos, my friends, I will see you in the next one.